She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA.
The WNBA can no longer afford to brush aside what Rebecca Lobo just said about Caitlin Clark and the league's officiating because her comments shine a light on a much bigger issue. While the Fever's matchup against the Connecticut Sun once again showcased the incredible Caitlin Clark effect, it also highlighted a problem that could seriously damage the WNBA if it continues to go unchecked. And now, one of the league's most respected voices is publicly sounding the alarm. Before we dive in, take a second to support the channel. If you've ever found yourself frustrated by inconsistent officiating, hit the like button. Consider it one more symbolic whistle the referees might need. Now, to understand why Rebecca Lobo's comments have everyone talking, we need to rewind and look at how this situation reached this point.
And Cunningham is down behind the play, but they've got Caitlin Clark. Two players with incredible up. Clark, another long three.
At the time of this recording, Caitlin Clark had only recently returned to the court, and she wasted absolutely no time making her presence felt. She exploded for 25 first-half points, including 3 incredible logo-range three-pointers in just 38 seconds. It wasn't simply an impressive scoring run, it was a powerful reminder of everything fans had been missing while she was away. More importantly, it sent a message to the entire WNBA about who has become the league's biggest attraction and the player generating so much of the excitement surrounding the game.
Here we go with Caitlin Clark singularly being missing for the time she was gone and ratings tanking, 50% in some cases. And then also she comes back and reminds everyone how spectacular she is. And everybody's talking about the WNBA. So if you needed to sort of have it affirmed to you that it is just her, that the singularity of her is what we are talking about, and for star power, you got it with this absence and then the way she came back.
That performance wasn't just another great game. It was a defining moment that made one thing impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark isn't simply a major asset to the WNBA. She's become one of the league's biggest engines for attention and fan interest. Her impact reaches far beyond the box score. The 5 games she missed revealed just how much of a difference she makes. Television ratings declined, social media buzz slowed considerably, and the overall level of national conversation lost momentum. Without Caitlin Clark on the floor, many of the league's biggest storylines struggled to capture the same excitement, making it clear just how much energy and attention she brings whenever she plays.
Rebecca, tell me, what does Clark's return mean for the WNBA?
I mean, it means a lot more people are paying attention once again. We know how much Caitlin drives ratings. We know how much Caitlin drives attention on the WNBA. And for her to come back and do it in that way was just ridiculous.
After weeks of declining television ratings and growing scrutiny, Caitlin Clark's return didn't just energize the Indiana Fever, it gave the entire WNBA a massive boost. The Fever's matchup against the New York Liberty reached a peak audience of 2.8 million viewers, making it one of the most watched regular season WNBA broadcasts in league history. To put that into perspective, the NHL Stanley Cup Final averaged around 2.5 million viewers. While hockey and basketball are different sports with different audiences, it's still remarkable that a WNBA regular season game featuring Caitlin Clark drew a larger peak audience than one of the biggest championship events in professional sports. Moments like that don't happen often. Whether league leadership has fully recognized the significance of those numbers is a separate discussion, and we'll get to that shortly. But one person who clearly understands the magnitude of Clark's impact is Rebecca Lobo. As an Olympic gold medalist, Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer, and one of ESPN's most respected basketball analysts, her perspective carries considerable weight. Before we dive into what Lobo had to say about the league's officiating, it's worth hearing how she described the enormous impact of Caitlin Clark's return and why she believes it was such a pivotal moment for the WNBA.
sitting there at the end of the first quarter when she had that 38-second stretch where she drained deep three after deep three after deep three. I was just sitting there thinking, I've been around this league since 1997. I have never seen that in a WNBA game. Have we seen players go on runs? Of course we have, but not like that. Not where a couple of the three-pointers are from 30-plus feet. It was an exhibition by her.
Take a closer look at what Rebecca Lobo said. People are watching again. It may seem like a small comment, but it says a lot. If people are watching again, that means many had stopped watching before, and everyone knows exactly when that changed, when Caitlin Clark returned. Lobo didn't stop there. She went on to explain why fans immediately came back once Clark was on the floor again. She described it as something you rarely see in the WNBA. These weren't ordinary deep threes. They were logo shots from incredible distance. That's what makes Clark so special. Very few players can make those shots consistently, let alone make them look easy. Even Natasha Cloud, who hasn't always been supportive of Clark's fans, admitted the reality. She said defenders have to start guarding Clark as soon as she crosses half court. That's not normal, and it's exactly the kind of impact Rebecca Lobo was talking about.
It was just ridiculous. It's not often that you're watching the WNBA or that I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, I've just never seen this.
Because at this point, the conversation goes far beyond a few missed calls or tough defense. What we've seen, not just since Caitlin Clark's return, but throughout last season and into this one, has become a much bigger concern. A pattern has emerged that's now difficult to ignore, and it's become so noticeable that respected WNBA voices like Rebecca Lobo are openly addressing it. The game against the Connecticut Sun should have been a wake-up call for everyone around the league.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
During the game, JC Sheldon and Marina Mabry were involved in a sequence where Caitlin Clark was knocked to the floor and also took contact to the face. Despite the physical play, neither player was ejected, a decision that quickly became a major talking point. To be fair, Clark and Sheldon had exchanged some words earlier in the game. But trash talk is part of basketball, and it doesn't justify unnecessary physical contact. Many felt the officials should have taken stronger action. The reaction was immediate. Broadcasters sounded genuinely surprised by the ruling, with many expecting at least one ejection. Across the league, fans, analysts, players, and coaches were all left questioning how the situation was handled.
Hey, we would have been crashing out our team.
Courtney, if somebody ever tackles you like that,
Nobody would ever tackle me like that. They would play with Bridget like that, and then we would have to like take it up there.
okay.
You see what I'm saying?
But I'm just saying.
Nobody would ever play with me like
If
that.
that ever happens, you better crash out behind me, because I'm crashing out behind you.
T,
We can share the same jail cell.
Naturally, the sequence involving Caitlin Clark quickly went viral and dominated the conversation. But it wasn't just one isolated incident. It was the result of tension that had been building throughout the game, with many believing the officials failed to get control of the situation before it escalated.
This is JC Sheldon right here with an entire handful of Caitlin Clark's shoulder and bicep, and she's twisting it. Okay? I mean, this is wild. Here's the zoomed out look, the snapshot. I mean, this league does not have control of its players.
The physical play had been building all game, and it eventually reached a breaking point. Naturally, Stephanie White was clearly frustrated after the final buzzer. Even before she said a word, her body language made it obvious. She sat down, took a deep breath, and then let her frustration show, starting with one simple question. What was that play?
You know, the game has changed so much. Players are faster, they're better, they're bigger, they're stronger. They're as good as they've ever been. They're as athletic as they've ever been. The game is fast now. Things are happening quickly. Everybody's getting better, except the officials.
That was about as direct a criticism of the officiating as you can make without calling out the referees by name. Her message was clear. The game is evolving, but the officiating isn't keeping up. It's a criticism that reflects what many players, coaches, and fans have been saying for quite some time. The bigger issue is that the Connecticut Sun game didn't create this conversation. It simply brought it back into the spotlight. Throughout the season, concerns have continued to grow over inconsistent officiating, missed calls, and whether star players like Caitlin Clark are receiving enough protection on the court.
That play, oh my God, this is rigged. This is rigged. She got yanked, fell on her hip. That's a hack. That's a hack. That's a hack. Oh my God, they hacked the one upon her and they hacked Caitlin Clark. They are both hacks. They are both hacks. They hacked Fever twice, and then there was a phantom foul called on Sabrina.
Questions about the officiating surrounding the Indiana Fever had been building since the start of the season, but they reached another level during the team's 90-88 loss to the New York Liberty. It quickly became one of the league's most debated games. Many viewers felt the whistle wasn't being called consistently. While the Liberty frequently found themselves at the free throw line, Indiana struggled to get the same opportunities, leading to plenty of frustration over the difference in foul calls. The biggest controversy, however, came in the closing seconds. On the Fever's final possession, many fans and analysts believe Natasha Cloud made significant contact with Caitlin Clark before she could get a shot off, but no foul was called. Replays of the play spread rapidly across social media, fueling widespread debate. The reaction was immediate, with fans voicing their frustration, and Stephanie White making it clear after the game that she was unhappy with how the ending was officiated.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing. That it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways.
It's interesting that she was penalized in that situation, yet her emotional reaction toward the officials after the Connecticut Sun game didn't bring the same response. To many observers, the league's handling of those moments raised even more questions and left fans debating whether the officiating had been managed consistently. And that's why this conversation matters. Before we even get to what Rebecca Lobo had to say, it's important to recognize the growing frustration surrounding officiating across the WNBA. Those concerns have continued to build, making Lobo's comments especially significant and potentially uncomfortable for the league.
Time where I'm attacking, it's very physical. I'm saying something to the ref, watch my landing space, watch physicality. I get laughed at, and it ends in my ankle getting turned. The same thing happened in Dallas, a flagrant that wasn't called. Same thing happened here. So my ankle is hanging in there, but it's starting to get very frustrating. I'm averaging less than 2 free throws a game, and I drive, I'm physical. I'm not someone who's avoiding contact. So I just hope that the safety of players starts to become a priority versus the ego of refs.
Some players have even joked that when they raise concerns about overly physical play, their complaints don't seem to be taken seriously. Comments about someone eventually getting hurt have become part of the conversation, reflecting the growing frustration around the league. Now, this brings us back to Rebecca Lobo and why Caitlin Clark is at the center of this discussion. The reality is simple. Clark's importance to the WNBA is impossible to ignore. The league, the television networks, the players, and the fans all understand how significant her presence has become. That's why Rebecca Lobo's comments stood out. She didn't exaggerate or use dramatic language. Instead, she addressed the issue in a measured and professional way. But if you listen carefully to what she was saying, the message is far more serious than it first appears.
Difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA, and all of them said it needs to get better. Specifically, the consistency, not only from one game to the next, but the consistency with it.
Did you notice what Rebecca Lobo actually said? She wasn't talking about just a handful of coaches. She said every coach she's spoken with has raised concerns about the quality of the officiating. That's a much bigger statement than many people realize, and that's where the situation becomes more concerning. If coaches across the league believe officials aren't keeping games under control, teams may start feeling like they have to protect their own players instead. Once that mindset takes hold, games can become even more physical, and that's a path the WNBA certainly doesn't want to go down.
One coach told me, we tell our players to be as physical as they can possibly be for 40 minutes because we know for 38 of them, they're pretty much going to get away with it. So I think everybody would like to see a tighter whistle and a little bit more freedom of movement.
It's almost like telling drivers they can ignore the speed limit because there are no police on the road. Eventually, more people take bigger risks simply because they believe there won't be any consequences. That's the concern many people have about the current state of WNBA officiating. If players feel the officials aren't consistently controlling the game, the level of physical play can naturally increase. We've already seen controversial moments, hard body checks, disputed foul calls involving Caitlin Clark, and growing frustration from coaches, analysts, and fans. When those situations continue to happen, people begin asking whether they're isolated mistakes or signs of a larger problem. I understand what Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has said about rivalries being good for the league. Healthy competition and intense matchups absolutely help build interest. But there's a clear difference between exciting rivalries and allowing games to become unnecessarily physical because of inconsistent officiating. The WNBA already has one of the biggest stars in women's sports in Caitlin Clark, a player who continues to draw record audiences and unprecedented attention. That's why handling these situations carefully matters so much. If concerns about player safety and officiating continue to grow, the league risks damaging the momentum it has worked so hard to build. If you made it all the way to the end, drop a bist in the comments so I know you're still watching. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.